MFA updates
Welcome to MFA Update, a weekly program that features Thailand's international affairs and activities. And you're here with me, Nishika Phumi. Today, we will bring you a special guest, Dr. Thanachate Wisaijorn, Head of the Department of Government, Faculty of Political Science, Ubon Ratchathani University, to discuss on a topic of Thai-Lao relations, a view from borderland people. Let's hear for more details.
The foreign affairs that matter. Special guests from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is the MFA updates.
First of all, thank you so much for joining in our program today. Let's start with the first question. Could you please clarify the term borderland to our listeners? Like, what kind of relationships do they have between the borderland people of Thailand and Lao PDR?
Thank you very much. In order to understand what borderland is, first of all, I have to explain three technical terms: territory, boundary, and border. Territory and boundary have similar meanings. They refer to the line used to separate two countries. But territory would have the connotation, political connotation of the exercise of power of the state, because it comes from the Latin term, terere, which means to terrorize or to frighten people. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, it also comes from the term terra, which means the space, the land. So one word, terere, has two technical connotations: the use of power over the land. When it comes to English, territory implies the concept of territorial integrity of a sovereign state. So the word territory, you have the sense of political power that is drawn on the line. The term boundary would have similar connotation, but it is not as strong as the term territory when it is used in the context of international politics. In short, territory and boundaries refer to the line. The two terms mean the line that are drawn to separate the two nation states. We come to the next term, which is the border. The border does not mean the line. It means the zone or the area. And this zone must be adjacent to the very line that is drawn, as I mentioned. So we have two terms already: territory, boundary, and border. When the term border is followed by the suffix land, it implies the connectivity of the border city in two different states. The border cities, despite being in two different countries, have unique connectivity, which is at a certain extent different from the relations of the central government that represent the country. For example, if we have a look at some examples far away in the North American continent, we have the borderland of United States of America and Mexico. We have the American-Mexican border. The city of Laredo in Texas, in English is called Laredo. The term Laredo, this is a twin city between Nuevo Laredo, which is in Mexico. So that we have two cities which are called Laredo. One is in Texas, the other is in Mexico, in Tamaulipas, Mexico. And the two cities and the two nation states is separated by the Rio Grande, which is the river. That cities, Laredo and Nuevo Laredo, have common identity. We have the baseball team, which plays for both sides of the countries. And it is not only that baseball team will represent the identity of the people along the borderline. Also, the people in that very area, they cross the border every day. And that is a good example of the borderland, that it is located at the edge of the state. But the people is not completely confined or restrained by that line. Somehow they cross the border and make contact with people on the other side. So that make the identity of their own. If I use these examples of Mexican and American city, that's a good example. In Thailand and Lao PDR, we also have quite a few good examples. For example, I would use and I would exemplify a lot of a twin city between Mukdahan province and Thanachate from Lao PDR. The two cities, despite being in two different nation states, represent a good example of borderland and what borderland means. And for example, before the pandemic of COVID-19, the people who crossed the border from Mukdahan to Thanachate, they cross every day. The example of the third space I would call is the space of its own, that the line that cuts the two states does not represent the separation, but it bridges the people together. But that happened before the COVID-19 pandemic. You know, people have their everyday border crossing activities. Their language, which is Isan and Lao PDR, are mutually understood. And, you know, they have similar taste of music and food. Similar, the pop culture, the kind of they appreciate online, social media is very similar. Even though now they cannot cross the border, they still have very similar taste. For example, they people from Lao PDR, you know, somehow some people might like Thai pop music, but quite a few still are attached to Molam music or, you know, for example, the singer Chintala Pula, for example. And Thai people as well, we follow, especially people in Isan region, we follow net idol from Lao PDR. For example, Sao Porn and Bao Mat. If you're born in Isan, you would get that sense of humor. But people from other province, other region who speak non-Isan language might not get the humor easily. Sao Porn is a Lao net idol, and it's very lively if you look at their live broadcast. And it somehow, I think Thai Isan people have very easy sense of humor and can connect it to the people from Lao PDR very easily, especially in the borderland. That's what I mean by the term borderland. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And what opportunities do we have to strengthen the relations between the borderland people in Thailand and Laos?
I would suggest that maybe the central government of the state, in this case would be Bangkok from Thailand and Vientiane from Lao PDR, allow certain extent of authority to the border provinces administration, that they organize the regulations of border crossing on their own, because people in the area would know the problems and opportunities of what they have and what they lack of. Actually, this kind of perception has been allowed for decades after the end of the Cold War. I would say it has been allowed for a long time. And along the 1,810 kilometers of the Thai-Lao border, we have the informal checkpoints. If I use the term informal checkpoints, it means that the checkpoints are not directly controlled by the central government in Bangkok, either from Vientiane. It's called in Thai language as Daan Prapeni or Daan Vattanatham. These checkpoints are organized and are arranged by the local administration. Each province would organize, I would not say province, I would say Ampere or district, would organize their own channels. And along the border, be it the river Mekong or the land border. For example, the area that I used to be very accustomed with, Khong Chiem Sana Sombun. Khong Chiem is in Ubon Ratchathani, and Sana Sombun is in the province of Champasak, Lao PDR. There are checkpoints that are run by the local authority, by the Obator, you know, the municipality, and the border crossing timetable would be scheduled by these local administration. For example, before the outbreak of COVID-19, people from Lao PDR would be allowed legally, at least in the area, they would be allowed to cross the border to Thailand, that they come to the clinics, they come to hospital, they come for shopping in the borderland in 3 days in a week. And the timetable would be that from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. 3 days per week, but Saturday for sure. And after the COVID breakout, these kind of channels were shut, but still, you know, we hope that it will be reopened again and to cross the border every day. And that's what happened is already good. It's already promising. But from my opinion, it would be more promising if the time and the days of the week are extended and from the central administration and allow the local provinces of the two countries to recognize their own timetable and to decide for themselves how many days would be extended in a week, and more people would have more connectivity because they know their own schedule, they know their own opportunities. And yeah, I hope that after the reopening of the border checkpoints after COVID-19, these will come back to the local provinces of Thailand and Lao PDR.
And what are the opportunities the Thai-Lao borderland people would have after the border checkpoints are officially open?
In my opinion, I have been conducting a research on the economic opportunity, so I will be focusing more on economics, and there are 4 obvious signs of the opportunities when people are allowed to cross the border, in my opinion. The first one is public health. The second is the culture and the nature. Cultural and natural tourist spots in Lao PDR are so rich that Thai tourists might always want to go and cross the border to visit. And vice versa, Lao tourists like to come to Thailand as well for shopping and leisure. And the last one, I would suggest that there is a sign for common benefit of the young entrepreneurs in the border province, the new generations of business entrepreneurs in the border provinces. Let's come to the first one that I would like to talk about.
Okay.
The good opportunities lie in the fact that many of the Thai border provinces can provide public health services to our neighbor countries. It's not only Lao PDR, but today we focus on Lao PDR. For example, in Ubon Ratchathani province, which is a border town with Champasak, it is found that before the breakout of pandemic of COVID-19, people from Lao PDR did cross the border to use the service of the hospital in Ubon in the very city, be it the state hospital or private hospital, and be it for the sake of the health and also the beauty, surgery, the surgical operation, like because they consume Thai TV a lot and somehow people cross to see the doctor that they have the surgical operation. And that's the first opportunity that I'm looking forward to. The second one is that Lao PDR have many interesting cultural and natural tourist sites. For this point, Thai tourists always want to cross the border. It could be one-day trip, or Thai tourists might want to spend a weekend trip. For the one-day trip, if one wants to visit the capital city of Vientiane, one might cross the border from Nong Khai. I'm not talking about the plane ticket, but I'm talking about how to cross the border via the Mekong River. And you can go in the morning and come back in the evening. And if you want to go to visit a very beautiful royal temple in Vientiane, for example, Thad Luang is very beautiful. And one might want to cross the border from Nong Khai. And when one cross the border at that point, it's still 27 kilometers away from Vientiane, but it's nice to travel like that. In similar vein, if one want to cross the border from central area of Lao PDR, which is opposite to Mukdahan, is the checkpoint of Mukdahan Savanakhet. This one is very interesting because Mukdahan is the city and the downtown of Mukdahan is right opposite to downtown of Savanakhet. And if you cross this direction, that's a little bit different from Vientiane, because when we cross from Nong Khai, it's not really the downtown. You have still to travel 27 kilometers, but from Mukdahan is city to city. If you cross the border via this channel, you visit Pathat Inghang. Very nice. I've been there, quite nice. And Thai tourists might enjoy it, and you can come back in the evening if you go to Savanakhet in the morning, and that's for one-day trip. I'm moving to another point about if you want to spend a weekend, you might cross the border via Ubon Ratchathani and Champasak, and you can visit natural site. For example, Khon Phapeng is labeled as Niagara of Asia. That's very nice as well. And this is culture. This is a natural site, and you can also enjoy cultural site. For example, the Angkorian temple called Wat Pu is not far, and this is the opportunity that I found that very promising. The third point, Lao people can cross the border to enjoy a one-day trip shopping in Thailand, be it from Vientiane to Nong Khai, and you can go further from Nong Khai to Udon. And even if you want to go to a bigger city, you can go to Khon Kaen, but it's longer trip. And from Mukdahan and Thanachates as well, and Champasak Ubon Ratchathani as well, you can spend one-day trip if you want to do it short. And if you want to relax, you can spend a weekend. That's for tourists from Lao PDR. And the last one, this is very important, young entrepreneur of the two nation states, especially in the border town, in the borderland, especially in Isan. We speak similar languages, and if we are young, we have similar tastes. The business owner from Thailand, the border town, and Lao people can talk. They have talked actually, and quite a few business is promising. I would give an example because I've been working in Ubon Ratchathani. In downtown Ubon Ratchathani, there are many small boutique coffee shops, and Ubon teenagers like to go to the cafe. They go to have a good coffee, and they take picture and post it on Instagram, on Facebook. And, because the young generations of business entrepreneurs, they have built small coffee shops. And when they have coffee shops, they need coffee beans. And good coffee beans are from Lao PDR, especially in Bolowen Plateau. From Pak Song. Pak Song is a city in Champasak. That's what's been happening. The young generation of business entrepreneurs from Ubon Ratchathani and other provinces have been talking with the young generation of Lao PDR. The Lao PDR provide the coffee beans, and the Ubon entrepreneur provide the point that they can sell coffee. This is how we can have something in common that can benefit the borderland of Thailand and Lao PDR. And that's what I have been figuring out so far.
Thank you again for providing us with the insight about the Thai-Lao relations.
Thank you very much.
And that was Dr. Thanachate Wisaijorn, Head of the Department of Government, Faculty of Political Science, Ubon Ratchathani University. For more updates on our program, don't forget to follow our YouTube channel, MFA Thailand, as well as our Facebook page, FM88 Radio Thailand English. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. I am Nishika Phumi. สวัสดีค่ะ
MFA Updates